Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Vault Excel. Happy Hump Day. Um, Recently, I had made a statement pertaining to the Caleb Harris case that I wanted to wait for confirmation of the remains found in Corpus Christi in a lift station. The point of this live is to bring you information how it works, the lift station. That's my main goal for this live stream is just to bring you information pertaining to how it works. Feel free to go to my community page to watch the videos, brief video of it. I'm going to play a little bit of the audio because some things is better to have a visual than trying to hear it by ear. But I'm going to play briefly information from News 4 pertaining to um, the situation pertaining to Caleb, but I'm not here to do any um, speculation on this, that, or the other because I don't have time for that today. I'm just here to explain the lift station briefly, how it works. Each demographic has the lift station set up, differently and how they're made. But I want to give the bio on the young man missing. I didn't cover this story because I chose not to when I first heard that he was missing. But anywho, remains have been found in Corpus Christi, and the lift station is just separated by a field from his apartment complex. So it is a close proximity to his home. Once again, the remains have been sent to the medical examiner, and I believe they're sent to North Texas, where missing people go to do the forensics for identification. News 4 is the source. Thank you very much.
It's live from Corpus Christi. That is where human remains were found yesterday near the place where Caleb Harris, a college student from New Braunfels, was reported missing back in March. Mandy, we understand you spoke with Corpus Christi police. What are they telling you tonight?
Well, the first thing we want to make very clear is that these are unidentified remains. We don't know that these remains are or are not those of Caleb Harris, but you mentioned these remains were found very close to where he lived in last year at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. You can see his apartment complex through that field behind me. But this is where those remains were found. And I also want to point out, just a little stone's throw away from where I'm standing is stormwater runoff. That area was also extensively searched in the days and weeks following his disappearance. Now, the Corpus Christi police chief says we're not going to know the identity of these remains for at least 4 weeks, probably at least 4 to 6 weeks. But we have been following this case. So as soon as the word came in that remains had been found here, we knew we needed to get up here and start looking into it. So that's what we did. The remains came in through the sewer lines, and this location right behind me, like I said, it's across the street from Caleb Harris's apartment last year. City workers found the remains around 3 p.m. yesterday. This area has been searched over many times, even by Caleb's family. Corpus Christi Police Assistant Chief Todd Green told me earlier on the phone that it would be virtually impossible for someone to get into this lift station. That means a body ended up in the wastewater system, the sewers, and made its way here. He has told me also the body was in an advanced state of decomposition and did not show any signs of any type of animal activity. There is a lot of speculation online. People want answers, but CCPD Chief Mike Markle says we're going to have to wait.
Brief commercial. Yes, a lot of speculations indeed. Oh, mercy. Hold on, everybody. I don't know what's going on. Okay, this is crazy.
Getting quick results. We need to take our time and make sure we do this right and the investigation is handled properly. And then we have to wait for some answers.
The chief says we get it. We know everybody wants to know who is this person? Who does these remains belong to? Was it foul play? That people want to know what happened. In fact, the first thing that Corpus Christi police did, one of the first things when these remains were found, were to call Caleb Harris's parents because they didn't want his parents to find out about remains being pulled so close to where his apartment was on social media. And I also talked with Randy Harris, Caleb's father, on the phone earlier today. I'll share a little bit of our conversation coming up. For now, for News 4 San Antonio, I'm live in Corpus Christi. Mandy Noel.
All right, Mandy, thank you for that. We'll see you a bit later in the show. We do want to go back out live to Mandy Noel, who is in Corpus Christi tonight. She's learning more about the latest developments in the search for missing New Braunfels student Caleb Harris. Mandy?
Yeah, remains found right behind me at this site. Sewers lead to this, and it's just a field away from where Caleb Harris, missing New Braunfels student, disappeared from and was last seen on March 4th. Coming up, we'll hear more from police about when we can expect an identification on these remains, whether it could be Caleb, and we'll also hear from Caleb's family. I talked with his father on the phone earlier. That's coming up.
We continue our coverage on tonight's top story as investigators in Corpus Christi work to identify the human remains that were found near the place where Caleb Harris went missing back in March. Mandy Noel has returned several times to talk with police and family. Mandy, what can you tell us tonight?
We do not know who these remains belong to. We do not know if they belong to Caleb Harris or somebody else, and we aren't going to know for a while. Corpus Christi's police chief says it's probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks before we have any type of identification on the remains that were pulled from this facility behind me. But what I can tell you is through this field, that's where Caleb's apartment was last year at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Now, I spoke with Randy Harris earlier today. That's Caleb's father. Throughout this whole traumatic process, his family has been so resilient in saying, we are continuing to pray. We want Caleb home. And that's still what they want. He says, we are praying. We are hoping that it wasn't Caleb that was pulled out of here yesterday by city workers. But that's something that we are going to have to wait on. As I said, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. But right now, this is an unidentified situation. The family says they're praying for whoever this person is in their family. Randy Harris says the right people are working on the case. So here's what we know. Sewer lines lead into this pump station that's behind me, and police say the body did not start here. That would be virtually impossible. Somehow a body was in the wastewater system, the sewers, and ended up here. Whether that was an accident or foul play, police have no way of knowing yet. The body was in advanced decomposition where workers found it. Corpus Christi police say an autopsy was scheduled for today, but we will likely not get a preliminary cause of death for at least a few days. As far as identifying those remains, again, it could take 4 to 6 weeks. Police say they know there's a lot of interest in this case. People have been all over social media speculating, coming up with their own ideas, but police say you're just going to have to be patient. We'll get you the answers as soon as we can. And that's what we're going to stay on top of, and we'll stay out here in Corpus Christi following the details for you. For now, I'm live in Corpus for News 4 San Antonio, Mandy Noel.
Mandy Noel is on assignment tonight down in Corpus Christi as a family in New Braunfels is waiting for answers after a body was recently discovered there. College student Caleb Harris disappeared back in March while attending school in Corpus Christi. So far, authorities have not identified the body that was found, but for more on what investigators are saying, we want to turn right now live to Mandy, who is in Corpus. Mandy?
I'm Garrett Holt. I'm running for...
Sorry about that brief commercial. Hello, Gio. Thank you for joining me.
You are exactly right, and that's such a good way of putting it. These remains are unidentified, but a family is waiting for answers, and they have been since March 4th. However, Corpus Christi Police Chief says it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks before we have any answers. That's how long he expects it to take before these remains are identified. So we cannot say whether they are or are not Caleb Harris. What we do want to point out, this is where the remains were pulled from. City workers pulled the remains from this facility yesterday around 3 o'clock. Across this field, you can see an apartment complex. That's where we've joined you from before. That's Caleb Harris's apartment complex. That's where he lived in the last school year as he attended Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and it was from right outside of there.
I'm going to briefly interrupt. I was doing a little Google searching, and I was trying to look at the aerial view, and I didn't remember seeing those apartments because that Google picture was 3 years ago. So I was trying to get confirmation if those apartments were in the location or not, because I was trying to get an aerial view and understanding of how long the apartments have been up. But anywho, once again, there's no confirmation on the remains. The apartment complex is close proximity to this lift station. and parents have been notified that a body was retrieved. DNA has been extracted. May take 4 to 6 weeks, just recapping the said information.
That he disappeared on March 4th. We have brought you this story through the last couple months. We've talked with police here in Corpus Christi, and we've talked many times with Caleb Harris's family. And all they want is their loved one back. I spoke with Randy Harris, Caleb's father, earlier. He says they are hoping and praying it was not Caleb that was pulled from here yesterday. They want Caleb home safe, and they want him home alive. They are praying for whoever it was.
Well, that jumped off there. Okay.
Want him home alive. They are praying for whoever it was and that person's family. Now, this entire area, so close to Caleb's apartment, has been extensively searched many times over. Corpus Christi Police Assistant Chief Todd Green told me earlier on the phone that for someone to get into this, now this is a lift station, it means the body ended up in the wastewater system, the sewers, and somehow made its way here. There was a lot of rain here last week. Things could have been moved around. He also told me the body was in an advanced state of decomposition. There's a lot of speculation online and people want answers. But CCPD Chief Mike Markle says we're all going to have to be patient and wait.
Ask for a little patience. Just let us do the investigation that we know how to do, and let us continue our methodical approach. We want to make sure we do it right, and there's no shortfalls at the end of this.
So what's next? An autopsy. We'll break down how long that could take and when we might get a preliminary cause of death coming up. For now, I'm live in Corpus Christi. Mandy Noel for News 4 San Antonio.
Well, now back to our top story tonight. Mandy Noel joining us live from Corpus Christi.
Okay, I don't want to stop there because basically they're just repeating themselves. So, going to give a little bit of information pertaining to a lift station. Feel free to go to my community boards where you can get a visual, because as I said, every jurisdiction lift station, how it's set up, each one is going to probably look a little bit different. All of them are not going to be made the same. They're little, what I call the metal circle that you lift up to go down, into the sewer. Each one is not going to be made the same at every lift station, naturally. But I'm going to give you a little bit of bio. Metropolitan Council is the source. This was uploaded 4 years ago.
Metropolitan Council Environmental Services operates the 7-county regional wastewater collection and treatment system. This video will explain the purpose and operation of wastewater pumping stations, or lift stations. To illustrate how this system works, this video will follow wastewater from its source, through the local sanitary sewer system, and to a regional wastewater lift station. Wastewater begins in homes and buildings when dirty water is sent to the local sanitary sewer system through a drain or toilet. It travels through the underground pipes, usually under the street, until it connects with the large pipes of the regional collection system. The wastewater flows downhill until it reaches a low point in the system, where it can no longer flow by gravity. Lift stations are installed at these low points so that the flow can be pumped or lifted to higher ground, so it can again flow downhill through the wastewater collection system. When the flow reaches the lift station, wastewater collects in an underground tank called a wet well. As the wet well fills, sensors measure the water level. Once the water level reaches a certain depth, the pumps inside the lift station turn on and force the wastewater out through a pipeline called a force main. The pumps shown in this lift station are submersible pumps. This is because they are located in the water of the wet well, similar to a sump pump in a home. For larger and more complex lift stations, the pumps are placed in a room separate from the wet well. This allows easier access and maintenance. Lift stations will often have an above-ground structure to house the other equipment needed to operate the system. Placing this equipment above ground allows for easy access for maintenance and repair. Because the wet well environment is so dangerous, access hatches are locked and monitored to prevent unauthorized entry. Once the
So, here at this video, talking about a lift station, they're talking about the hatches. They're sitting on top of concrete. Their information is that they should be locked, those hatches, okay, to go down into the wet well. So that will be the question pertaining to the body making its way into the wet well? How did it get there? Either from naturally manhole and or sewer manhole that goes into the sewer system, or a body put deliberately into the hatch at the lift station. But naturally, for security reasons, each lift station should have secured gates and locked hatches. So now we have to ask that question. Was this place secured by a fence, a lock, and were the hatches locked on the property?
Wastewater is pumped out of the lift station. It continues through the force main until it reaches higher ground. From there, it can once again flow by gravity. Ultimately, the wastewater arrives at one of the regional wastewater treatment plants, where it is cleaned to strict standards before being released back into the environment. To learn more about lift stations and other parts of your regional sewer system, head to the Metropolitan Council website and search how it works.
Very short video, 2 minutes, 30 seconds long. Feel free to check it out on my community page. It will show you how wastewater makes its way into the sewer system, and it shows a diagram of a person standing at their bathroom sink, washing their hands. Naturally, water goes down, dirty water goes through the sink, then to the pipes, then underground, travels its way underground through the pipes. So naturally, a human being wouldn't be going through those pipes. So you can scratch that method. Okay? Then we have all this water meeting over to the wet well. This is where the water is being treated, processed. But as I said, it can be as deep as 50 feet. I believe they're estimating this wet well at 40 feet. I can stand corrected. So the options are limited. Not going through sewer pipes because it's a whole body, whomever this person is. So we scratch that method. The next method would be the actual lift station where you lift the hatches. Did the person go in that way, whoever the person is? Fall in or put in. That's number one. Then the other method would be the sewer and or the manhole, which naturally goes to the sewer. Going to play you some information to get more in depth into falling into a wet well and also surviving falling into one. And one happened, a body fell into one in another jurisdiction. And just giving you the synopsis of that said situation. See if I can pull it up. Thank you for joining me. KVAL is the source, News 13. Yeah, it's very interesting information. I always like to do research on things that I don't know anything about in order to get a better understanding, because someone trying to explain it to me, that never works for Queen. I have to have a visual to basically get an understanding of what they're speaking of. And it's interesting information because, as I said, each wet well and processing place for the city water, they're not all identical. So each place is totally different. I was trying to pull up this information. I'm having a hard time pulling it up. Let me see. Well, the guy was talking and now I can't find it for some reason. Well, when I go live, things don't want to play for some reason. I'll just have to read it. This is in Eugene, Oregon. A few years ago. I've worked here for 32 years, said Dave Bredenstein, wastewater operations manager for the city of Eugene, and this is a first time. A city crew found the body Wednesday while performing twice annual maintenance. So pay attention to that information. Twice annuals. Now you have to ask yourself about the Greenwood treatment facility. How often do they check the wells, the lift station? Because that's going to be very vital to this case, whomever the body is, whether it belongs to Mr. Caleb or somebody else. How often do you check? Now, here in this article, you hear this man saying that it is twice annual maintenance with a pump truck used to remove grease and debris from the wastewater wet well, a 10-foot wide, 28-foot long, and 26-foot deep underground vault. With the big vacuum truck, we will take off the floating debris that's in the well and get it out of the system so the system can operate reliably, Breitenstein said. With the discovery of the body Wednesday, pump trucks were pressed into a new role as crime scene investigation tools. City crews will remove several truckloads of wastewater from the well where the body was found. The wastewater could be strained for any potential evidence, city workers said. The medical examiner will conduct an autopsy on the body. Police said the body has been removed from the vault. The age and gender of the deceased were not immediately obvious. 3 ways into the sewer system. Maintenance was last performed at the Fillmore site in September, Breitenstein said. Now, naturally, this article came out in, let's double back, in May 28th of 2015. So you're talking about a long time. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 7 months. That's a long time, depending on when the body fell into this, got into this pump station. Okay, where was I? The wastewater could be strained for any potential evidence. Medical examiner will conduct, the autopsy naturally. Police said the body was removed from the vault. Age and gender not known. The maintenance on this said Fillmore site was done the previous September, which was like 7 months before the article was published and the body was found. The wastewater collection system is entirely enclosed, separate from anything else, even separate from septic deliveries. A locked fence ring with barbed wire surrounds the Fillmore pumping station off of Briarcliff Lane where the body was found. Once inside the fence, access to the vault where the body was found requires a key too. At the stations, we have vault covers. We keep it locked. So that's what I was trying to say, the vault covers. That's why I said each station is going to be made differently. Vault covers, that would be the round metal things that you open up to go down into the ground. So here you're having this man say theirs were locked. They're always locked. So those are really well secured. The only other ways into the city's closed sewer system via manhole covers, which require special tools and techniques to open, or down a drain at a business or home. So as I stated before, pertaining to the body of this person out here in Corpus Christi, we know it couldn't be through a drain of a house because a whole person could naturally go down a drain at a home or bathroom. So you scratch that. The next technique or method would be through a manhole cover. But then, as they said, that's not just readily accessible either to just open up unless there was one that was open. But then naturally a human being wouldn't crawl down in there, I don't assume, for what reason. So then that would leave another person putting a human being down in there. So then if we're to say that a human put another human in there, how did they get it open? Then that means they were just readily what? Riding around looking for manholes to dispose of a body and dump the body in. That seems like a lot of work. So just narrowing down the scenarios. As I said, down a drain at a business or a home, manhole covers, once again, which requires special tools. About 800 miles of wastewater piping handles 20 million gallons of wastewater daily from kitchens and bathrooms in Eugene, Springfield. Pipes range from 8 inches in diameter at homes up to big transmission lines that measure 72 inches across. Wastewater enters the Fillmore station via a 52-inch diameter pipe. In the region's wastewater system, sewage flows downhill by gravity. And you will hear this a lot when you do the research pertaining to how these pump stations work to get the wastewater. To move wastewater through the system, 47 pump stations, like the Fillmore site, pump the liquid along the larger pipes until it reaches the treatment plant. The Fillmore pump handles waste from South and West Eugene. It's the last pump on that stretch of sewer line before wastewater reaches the treatment plant. So that's basically it. Through the pipes and or manhole cover, or directly put into the well at the treatment center. KVAL.com is the source for that information there. Let's now go to Quora.com pertaining to falling into a lift station. Thank you for joining me. Lordy, lordy, lordy. If you venture into a sewage lift station and accidentally fall down a lift station wet well, can you come out unhurt? This commentary is by Paul Montgomery, a retired electrical engineer, metrology and control systems. 34.1 million answer views to this question. Sure, I actually know someone who had this accident. All wet wells that have been around have handrails around the well, a permanent ladder bolted to the inside of the wet well to facilitate self-rescue and flotation devices to throw to anyone who would fall into a well. If you are working around a well where you need to remove the safety handrails or chains blocking access to the well, then you should have a flotation life vest on. Now, some of these wells can be quite deep. I've worked around ones that are 50 feet deep, and falling into one when the liquid is low would be quite a fall. It would be possible to take a fall that would kill you. I've been down in ones to prepare the downpipe bubbler system used to measure liquid level. When I did, I had a harness and was attached to a safety rope system manned by people whose only job is to keep me safe. So for those of you who are not familiar with how this works, as I said, feel free to go to my community page where you can get a better understanding of how they work. One side would be a wet well, which would be where the sewage is. The other side would be a dry well. This is where you can be lowered down into it to do the measuring and so on and so forth. There's no liquid in this dry well. There's a guy showing you. He's on a little mechanical device where he stands on it, and he's lowered down into this well, but it's the dry side, so they're separate. Dry side, lowered down, do your work, measuring, so on and so forth. Other side is wet. This is where the sewer water would be. Okay. So once again, he says, if you're working around a well where you need to remove the safety handrails or chains blocking access to the well, then you should have a flotation life vest on. Now, some of these wells can be quite deep. I've worked around ones, once again, he said 50 feet deep, and falling into one liquid level low would be quite a fall. As I'll repeat it, you could unalive yourself. As for the guy I knew who fell into one, he was not following all safety rules. He went over the rail to retrieve something that had fallen into the well, slipped and fell into the pool of human waste. He swam to the ladder and climbed out, covered in the indescribable mix of human filth. Fellow workers grabbed a hose and washed him down. There's always a hose around. He was washed down and he stripped everything, including underwear. Then he went into the facility and took a shower, changed into spare clothes. The incident resulted in a review and a tightening of following the established rules. There have been many incidents of people dying in these wells. Pump lift stations like this are always fenced in with chain link 6-foot fencing and locked. But kids sometimes will break in out of curiosity. Very interesting. Break in. Then also under this article shows another wet well. And the guy says, Keith Ullum, only in these you might survive. This is a wet well. And then it says, but probably at best you will emerge in an altered state of consciousness. I would say so. Once again, there are two types of lift stations commonly used in wastewater operations: a dry well or a submersible lift station. The submersible wet well lift station has become the norm and is preferred in present day applications. The point I'm making is the obvious. That's why I did the research before doing this live stream. There's not many methods to get into the wet well. If you see how it's made, you can use common sense. You see how it's made, the diagram in the 2-minute video. It's a very short video, but it's very efficient in the diagram to show you water coming from your house and going underground and how it gets to the into the wet well. It's like ABC, kindergarten information. No way a body can get in from the house, through the pipes, down to the ground, through the wet well. The only options left is directly put in at the lift station, and or a person fell into a manhole and or was put into a manhole cover, which goes down into the sewer. Who is the body that was recovered at this Greenwood facility? So happened this facility is across the field from the apartment complex where Caleb Harris resides. Most people are going to assume naturally that it is him, but as the police is saying, the police chief, wait until we get confirmation to the identification of the person. You also heard in this commentary that the body is very badly decomposed. In this short time of almost 4 months, the body is decomposed. Well, when you go into the Google search, which I did to get this information, I saw this machine. I don't know exactly what it does. I didn't even want to know after I saw what was inside of the machine. This gadget that shows the waste inside, I guess to show you how to get the water purified. It's an atrocity. So after looking at that machine and the gunk that was inside of it, I can't now question why this body, whomever it belongs to, why it's badly decomposed. Once I saw this machine and the gunk and filth that goes through the sewer system, I guess naturally, with what's thrown into drains naturally from businesses, homes, and things thrown in the sewer, waterways, creeks, so on and so forth, it wouldn't take long for a body to decompose in a severe state. And I can't even imagine the gentleman, man or woman, who discovered these remains out of the lift station. It had to be a shock. So now you have to ask the question that I asked already. What is the maintenance cycle on the lift station? How often do they check? Now, I did a little research. It's supposed to be once a week for some, but that's the whole point. Every lift station does not operate the same. I don't even know what the protocol is supposed to be to check. The one company that came out of Kentucky, I did a little research there. Out of Kentucky, they had a very proficient setup and showed you their breaker boards and all of that, very clean looking. And they have everything is nice and neat and tidy as far as the levels of the water. If there's a build up to where they'll go check it. They even got lights to blink to let you know that it's over capacity. So if you were driving by, you could call this number to let the city know that the wastewater, whatever, is over its limit, which is, I thought, was very proficient. And also it will let you know if there's something in there bulky that don't have no business, I guess, in there, or it's just, it's something that's what I would consider big, bulky. So that's what leads me back to this place here in Corpus Christi. What is the protocol for the maintenance of the lift station, the wet well? How often do you all check it? How often does it get filled up or overfilled or any type of malfunction? or any type of information to alert of something bulky and bigger than just your regular waist? Those are my questions. But once again, there aren't many options for a body to get into the lift station. That's obvious just from what I've learned tonight about the lift station and how it operates. Once again, feel free to go to my community page to check out the 2-minute video. It's very proficient. It's straight, cut, dry. There's not really much you can get misinformed about how the lift station works. It's a animated diagram to show you how it works from your house to the lift station. So I don't think you'll be confused. The only place you're going to be confused is once you see the diagram, your mind is going to wonder, okay, well, then how did a body get in it? That's where the confusion comes in. Because what you don't see in the diagram is how a body would flow and get stuck or lodged or sit in this lift station. Once again, can be as deep as 50 feet. So that's a nice setup. And if you Google lift stations or just go in the search engine of YouTube for lift stations, you're going to get all types of videos to show you what they look like, how deep they are, how it purifies water. That was an interesting video I watched. And still after watching that, I said to myself, do I really still want to be drinking water, tap water? Possibly not. Because even when the water went clear, there still was gunk and stuff up on this other thing that was inside of there. So my mind is still like, how is the water still clean? Yeah, I see clear water, but I still see gunk, on this white thing that was sitting down in there. It's just a horrible sight. It's a horrible sight seeing how the water is processed, treated so we can have drinking water. Because the first thing I was saying, watching all that water flow out of those pipes, I said, please don't tell me this is what I'm drinking. I'm drinking disgusting water that was once what? Poo-poo water. It's not even a good visual. And I've thought about this a while back. This is why they tell you certain things you just really don't want to think about because you'll make yourself sick. So due to this situation of this body being in this lift station, it takes you to the realism of how your water is made, where your water comes from, how you drink your water. And I was just looking at a video where these people were talking about this purifier to put in your refrigerator to help, get the toxins and everything out of your water coming out of the sink. And I'm thinking about buying me one of those because definitely after watching the young lady make iced tea and she showed the difference between the water out of the tap versus the water that was purified out of the container that she bought to put in the refrigerator, you can see the difference that the treated water from the tap, the iced tea looked lighter, but the iced tea from the tap, it was darker looking. So it's just, food for thought. But anywho, doing this research for this video this morning is a bit stomach turning. I don't want to go back into that lift station diagram anymore because it makes my stomach turn. But anywho, it's food for thought because with knowledge is key. The only way you can learn anything is to go into the belly of the beast and do the research. So that's what I did. I don't like talking about things that I don't know what I'm talking about or don't have a visual of what I'm talking about. So the only way I could make it make sense in my head of this facility was to go into Google search and also YouTube. Thank God for YouTube. They've got some videos there. All you have to do is just type in lift station and you will get diagrams and also actual visuals of lift stations to show you how it's made, sewer in the lift stations, how the water's treated, and then you can use your imagination, as I said, for how a body got in there. I also took you to Core.com, a professional who's worked in this field, to give you his, experience of someone falling in, and they had to get the person out, clean the person off. That was an employee. So your mind is going to wonder naturally, whomever this person is, whether it's Caleb or whomever. To me, it doesn't even matter who it is. It's a human being, and it's a terrible situation to end up, one, deceased, either by accident or foul play, and then to end up in the state that the body ended up in is even more horrific, because your mind starts to wonder, well, dear God, how did the person get to the lift station in the first place? And as I said, once you see how the lift station is designed, once you see how it's made, they even have videos on YouTube to even show you how it's built, everything. It's just not something you even want to fathom. You just don't. And then once you see that one little machine that gets the gunk out, it's horrific. And it's just, as I said, it's not something you want to visualize. One, for drinking water, or worst case scenario, a human body. That's my content for this morning. Join me later today. I will be bringing you some very crazy stories here in the United States, dealing with prisons, women prisons. We're going to talk about transgendered persons in the prison system. We have states that allow a man who's allegedly claiming to be a woman to be in the prison systems with women. I'm going to bring you some scenarios of lawsuits that are currently, I guess, on the books, as I haven't found the finality of the lawsuits. But we're going to talk about the state of California, why California would allow a man proclaiming to be a woman to be in the prison systems with women. I do not recommend this, but we do have states who are allowing this to transpire, to put you into a prison with the gender that you identify with, not born naturally. That will be Wednesday's discussion. Current lawsuits, the fallout for doing this. A man ended up getting women pregnant, and then he was moved to an all-male prison where he felt alienated, fear for his safety. But then the flip side is that people are going to judge you accordingly. Well, you got yourself into prison for a reason. You were lucky to even be sent to a women's prison when you should not have been there. Just because you identify with women does not mean you should be in a women's prison. And that's my personal opinion. So we're going to talk about that, the state of New Jersey, California, this nonsense that took place in New Jersey, current lawsuits in New Jersey, and also that prison is now closed because of sexual assaults and nefarious deeds that were happening to women in the prison. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Please feel free to go to my community board to take the polls. Please take the polls. Look at those videos to get more information and an understanding of what a lift station does. As I said, every jurisdiction, they're not going to all look the same, but they're naturally they should function similar. But if you don't like horrible looking things, I don't recommend you watch any videos, naturally, to show you wastewater and to show you how the treatment facilities work to give you clean water. But I say try it one time just so you know, and then you'll appreciate clean water, and possibly buying you a filter to put either on your tap faucet, or pouring the water into one of those little mechanisms you can put in your refrigerator, because I am contemplating buying one. Thank you for your time. You all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Once again, the movie of the week is Talk Radio. It is an older movie that came out in 1988. It's my suggestion because I feel like a lot of people need to see what can happen when you have a public platform and you're giving your opinion, and possibly somebody doesn't like your opinion and they decide that they want to exact threats and bodily harm towards you. Cautionary tale. Thank you for your time. You all have a wonderful week. Please stay hydrated and cool in your jurisdiction. Prayers for the Harris family, and prayers for this upcoming autopsy. Because as I said before on my community page, in the end, whether it's Caleb or not, or someone else, it is still a human being. It is still a human being. And that's the point. Whether accidental, foul play, it's still somebody. You've been listening to the Vault Excel.